Hi friends, welcome back to Mule 4 series of learning videos. I am Siva.thankamanee, an integration technical architect. In the last three videos, we have seen the introduction about OAuth 2.0 and its implementation Okta, and we have seen how to configure Okta. And finally, we have seen how to create a Proxy API in MuleSoft, which is ready for applying the OpenID API policy. So we have also seen the difference between OAuth 2.0 and OpenID. So OpenID is a subset of OAuth 2.0, which is running on top of OAuth. And OpenID is used only for pure client authentication mechanism. So having seen all of those, we are ready to apply this OpenID policy in MuleSoft for APIs. And let's get started. Before we start configuring OpenID policy in Mule 4 APIs, let's recollect some of the important activities that we have done so far in order to get up to this point and get ready to apply OpenID policy. So first, after configuring Okta, we came here to MuleSoft, and after logging in, we selected API Manager and we created a Proxy API. So as you know, before creating the Proxy API, there should be an implementation API, which is already there, and we deployed it. So let's see both of them here. So under the application, you see the implementation API, which is called My Employee API. And we created a Proxy API named Employee Proxy API, and both are up and running. So Employee Proxy API doesn't need to be coded because it's the code and the package is automatically created whenever we create a Proxy API and apply, and we will see automatically a Proxy API deployed in the runtime. So runtime in turn contains API gateway. You can see the file name that says employee proxy API gateway.jar. So actually it's a part of API gateway. So from the version 3.8.0, the API gateway and the runtime manager is clubbed together, and it's taken care of automatically. So in case you want to make some minor changes, you can feel free to click here and go to settings. You can even download this jar file, and you can make and you can tweak minor changes if the situation demands to make some changes. But please remember that the Proxy API should have only non-functional requirements and related code, and let's not write too much code into the Proxy API, and all the implementation should be there in the actual Mule flow. So all these are done. If you have any doubts, you can go and visit my previous set of videos before you continue here. I'll put the links in the description below. And then we have created the authorization server in Okta. And while creating, I requested you to note down this metadata URI, which will be helpful to configure this OpenID policy in Proxy API, which I will explain. And I think we are ready to start. So let's click on this metadata URI, and when you click, you will see quite a few URLs which will be useful to apply OpenID policy. So let's go to the API Manager. So let me take this in a separate window, and under the API, you can click here and then go to Access Management. Under the Access Management, you can see here external identity, and you can see OpenID Connect dynamic client configuration. So initially I have done that, but before that, if you click it, there will be an option to choose OpenID Connect dynamic client registration. After choosing it, it appears here, and initially this will allow you to enter few details, and which we will go through one by one. So first, according to the OpenID spec, there are some communications happening between Mule Proxy API and the Okta, which is OAuth implementation. So for that, you need a few URLs which will be automatically invoked during the runtime by Mule API. We will see those APIs available in the metadata URL provided under authorization server. So by clicking it, I can see all this. Let's fill it one by one. So first one, you have to see issuer URL, and you can see here issuer URL is here. You can just copy it and then put it here. And then client registration URL, you can see client registration URL is here, registration endpoint. You can copy, and this is what I have copied. Let me show you this. And if you can search, this is what I have copied here. And under the advanced settings, and you need to note down here that there are two examples given. You can take Okta example and then choose SSWS followed by access token, which is basically used to authorize the configuration. So where is this token coming from? Let's go back, and under the API we have created a token first. You might remember and recollect through my previous video, and it will walk you through how we can create the token by clicking this button. So we have taken this while configuring this. So you can use SSWS space and copy this token and then put it here. So that will be the authorization header. And next set of URLs are authorization URL, token URL, and token introspection URL. And you can see all of them here. You have token URL, token endpoint, and authorization endpoint, and token introspection endpoint. So all these details are available. You can copy and paste all those. And let's come to token introspection client ID and secret. You may recollect in the previous video, we have created initially one application in order to authorize the Proxy API to communicate to the Okta. So while creating, we have made note of this client ID and secret, which will be used here while configuring this token introspection client. So it should be an application credentials, so which can be used here. So you can copy that and put it here in place of client ID and secret, and finally all set to save it. So I have already saved it, so let me discard it. So once you configure, now we have implementation API, proxy API, Okta configuration is completed, and we have also done retrieved all the URLs that are available in the authorization server's metadata URI, and we came to the external identity and configured all the details in OpenID Connect dynamic client registration. So having said that, I think we are done mostly, and we are all set to create an application for the Proxy API. So next step is to go to AnyPoint Exchange, and under the AnyPoint Exchange, let me go here. So in the asset list, you can see the Proxy API name available under the Exchange. This is employee API specification, which is what we have created here as a Proxy API. You can see here it's employee API spec. So I am clicking here, and you can see the specification appears. You don't need to worry about these options, but here you can go for request access. So this request access establishes the communication between the OpenID configuration that we made here and Okta. So you have to create a new application. So this application is meant for accessing this API. So while you click create a request access and create a new application, this will automatically associate to the API which you have selected. So while clicking which, it's asking for OpenID specific details. So this is the application name. You can give the application name through which you are going to initiate verification from the API to Okta. So you can give application name, say address validation application and description, and you don't need to fill in application URL, but you need to choose authorization code grant, which is what is to verify client ID and secret we pass through. And here OAuth 2.0 redirect URI should be the same as we configured here. You can copy this under redirect URI and go back and fill in here, and that's it. You can click create. So here this is already created. It says responded with code 400. When you create it for the first time, the application will be created in Okta through this configuration. Let me show you that. So let me cancel it, and you can see here. Let me go to this API. And I have created quite a lot of client applications, and one of them will be employee API specification. This is what we have chosen. So the name is address validation applications. So since I created twice the address validation application, I have just put S there. So let's go to Okta, and if you go to the applications, you can see automatically Mule API through configuration it created an application with the same name as it appears here, as whatever name we have given in the client application. So you can click there, and so once you have that application, you have to should not forget to choose this client credential, which doesn't come by default, and then you go to sign on and then check everything is okay, and then assign it to all the groups. So you can just click assign to groups, and then you can choose everyone. Since I have already done assigned everyone, see, this is assignment. I have assigned it to everyone, so everybody or every user configured under this particular application will be able to access this API. So that's simple. So you can verify the communication is proper or not by checking this application created automatically. So now how do we confirm this? If you go to general, and if you look at this client ID, this client ID must be the same as the application that's created in the API. Let me show you this. So this is the application we created through API, and if I search, this is the same client ID in Okta. So the application that's available under the name address validation applications, the client ID should match the client ID here, and the client secret also should match. Only then you can understand that the communication is established successfully. And this is not necessary to validate, but you can validate if required. So now we are all set to apply this client authentication policy under Proxy API. So let's create, as you all know, in order to access this implementation API, I have created this Proxy API. And in the Proxy API, I am giving this authorization. And how do we obtain this authorization? So here I have Okta with the URL, so which I have explained it in the previous video. So you can use this URL under the username and password. You have to use the same details that's available under Okta. Let me show you. This is the client ID which you need to use here under the username, and client secret is what you need to use it under the password. And that's under the authorization tab under the basic auth. And you need to give these content type. And finally, you are all set, and you can click send, and automatically you get this access token. So this access token is what is used to verify whether the application is valid in order to access our implementation API. and let's verify this. So in SOAP UI, I have configured this proxy API, and I have given dummy client ID and secret. This is because in the RAML I have made it as mandatory, so without which it will not accept. But you can go and disable the client ID secret, which is not necessary because we are going to go with the OpenID policy. So under the OpenID policy, I have this bearer and then this token I have taken and applied here. And let's invoke and see. So message is success. So after some times this token will get expired and you will not be able to access. So so this process of creating this access token should happen within the end user UI, possibly under the website. This URL will be configured, or this URL will be exchanged to the end user application. So which will create access token, and it will get it from Okta, and the end user application will use this access token while they are calling our API. So as you can see here, this Proxy API or at MuleSoft, we have never created any client ID or client secret or anything API related username and password, which is purely coming from Okta. That's the end of OAuth 2.0 OpenID series of videos, and we are able to successfully complete OpenID policy in Mule APIs. And hope you liked it and enjoyed it. And if you did, please like my videos and subscribe my channel. I'm planning to come up with a new series of videos with interesting topics soon. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.